Welcome to Dare a New Belief, a place to discover what is possible for your life after the loss of a loved one, and where you will find inspiration, insight, support, and love, and hopefully a bit of laughter to help you through your day. Now, here's your host, Nada Hogan.
Welcome to Dare a New Belief, where you will find light and life, love and joy, healing, faith, and hope. A place where you get to believe in what is possible for your life. And today I have the great honor to welcome back Susan Eva. And Susan has been working with various forms of energy medicine for over 20 years and brings together multiple aspects for a collaborative approach to bring the mind, body, and spirit together. Along with personal life experiences of loss, grief, and divorce, Susan brings a real-life perspective to help others navigate these circumstances faster, giving rise to the life experience we truly want in celebration of our magnificence. Susan uses the principles and practices of the energy codes along with the best treatments, bioenergetic synchronization technique, to facilitate the navigation of change. Welcome, Susan. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you, Nada, for having me again. It's a pleasure to be here and to further this conversation.
Yes, because more people need to hear this. They need to know how powerful they are. And it just reminds me, as I was reading your bio, this whole piece of being in this life experience and wanting to celebrate our own magnificence. And could we start off with that, just speaking about our own magnificence? What is that?
Our own magnificence is the truth of who we are. That's our essential self. That's inside of us. And we have, I'm going to say, lost the ability to see or perceive that because of life circumstances, because of beliefs, because of things that have happened that have shut us down. And we have developed this ego, this protective, performing personality. That's, and that's how we walk out into this world. But that is done from the mind. It's not done from the core of who we are. So we've operated our life in our head, not from inside of our body. So it's crucial to get back in our body and feel the feeling. We are sensory beings, and when we've had feelings that have hurt us, we bury them and we shut them down because we don't like how they feel. And we go up into our head and we manage, and some of us have become very successful at managing our life from our head. But we don't find the joy and the bliss. There's something missing. And in truth, there's nothing missing, nothing broken, nothing is wrong. Everything is there. And, when I was first presented with the concept that I'm a magnificent being inside, the truth of who I am is magnificent, I went, wow, that's really cool. I like that idea, but I'm not sure of that because I guess I just hadn't seen it. And when we invite the possibility to come in, what if that's actually true? And what if all of these perceptions of I'm not good enough, if somebody says something to me and it shuts me down and I start to believe it, I'm judging it. I'm judging myself as somebody else made a comment about me that was negative, and if I choose to believe it, it will upset me and I will bury it. But just because somebody said it doesn't mean it's true. And over life and our experiences, those things, gather up, and they keep us from seeing the truth of who we are. And the more we can get out of our head and into our body, and one of the things I teach is techniques to do that, and actually feel it and feel those feelings that we didn't want to feel. And we might think that they don't feel so well, but what if we were to bring them forward and give it a try? Maybe when we stuffed it when we were 3 years old, it's just because we didn't know how to deal with it. What if when we bring it up now, it's not as difficult to transform it and reframe it, in a different way? And it's not always the things that happen to us, it's the perceptions we have. Somebody might say something that's very hurtful, and we maybe have misperceived what they were trying to communicate, and yet we start building a story about that, and we create the interference inside of our own system. And that person might be a very loving friend or family member and have no idea what's happened. So, that magnificence has always been there, and it always will be. And, the more we can do this transformational work to access it, the more joy we feel. And we came here to have a good life, to have fun and adventure. And we did come here to wake up to the truth of who we are. And we do it through this resistance and these issues. But we didn't just come here to work through, I say this in quotes, our problems. We came here to experience joy and bliss and adventure. So it's a concept that it's really good to just start bringing into your consciousness is, I am a magnificent being.
Yeah. What a beautiful mantra, just for everybody just to start holding in their conscious mind and in their heart and in their body. I am a magnificent being. And just saying that, how it kind of makes you sit up a little bit differently, because you're telling yourself something different than what we've been telling. I'm so stupid. How come I can't do this? Why does it never work out for me? Blah, 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 all the stuff that we say to ourselves, not even recognizing that we say it. So I love that. That's going to be my mantra for the rest of this week. This is a Tuesday. So until next Tuesday, I'm going to be saying I'm a magnificent being. I love it. And Susan, I would like to ask you, so when you're talking about this and the feelings that are uncomfortable, because it is true, this is what it doesn't feel good to us. And so we try to get away from it by stuffing it down or pretending it never happened or eating it away or drinking it away, whatever it is. And you're suggesting that we sit with the feeling. And then what happens when we do that? When we sit with that uncomfortable feeling, what happens?
Well, it's actually quite easy to transmute it, because when you allow that feeling to come up and to feel it, the invitation is to take it to the body. And where do you feel it? You might feel it in your heart. You might feel it in your solar plexus, in your gut, whatever. And just allow that feeling. And it may not feel good just because it's unfamiliar. It doesn't mean it's bad. It could just be unfamiliar. But when we allow ourselves to feel it, we know where we're feeling it in the body. We can gently squeeze that area of the body and do some breath work through it. And there are a number of kind of different ways to breathe. But breath is spirit in the body. So if you do some, what I will call central channel breathing, which is breathing in from above your crown into the center core of your being, into your heart, and then exhale through that channel down into the earth, and then breathe it up from the earth through that channel into the heart and out the crown. When you're squeezing that area that you're feeling it and doing that breath work through it, you will find that all of a sudden that feeling just kind of dissolves. And, and the other thing that's really important I'd like to add regarding breath work is most of us, because of life circumstances, have learned to breathe from the upper lobes of our lungs instead of, babies breathe deep in their belly. That's how we're supposed to be breathing. And, even just consciously when we're taking some breathing and just breathe and make sure you make your belly big, breathe into the lower lobes of your lungs, and not just shallowly at the top, because when you're breathing from the upper lobes of your lung, you're activating the sympathetic nervous system, and it's the sympathetic nervous system that puts you in fight or flight. So when we have a traumatic thing or something happens, we kind of go, we stop and we breathe shallow. It's kind of the body's way of supporting that. So when we're breathing into the lower lobes of our lungs, we're activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which puts us into rest and digest. So if you're in a stressful moment and you're feeling like you're in fight or flight, just doing some central channel breathing or even doing some belly breathing and bringing consciously that oxygen into the lower lobes of your lungs, we've all heard, if something's a problem, just stop and take a breath. And there's so much truth to that. If you do that, and give yourself a few minutes to just let it, I guarantee you will notice a difference. And the more you do that, the more you're going to see a change. And the more you practice doing that, every time you think of it during the day, think about doing some breath work. You're going to notice your life change just because you're breathing differently. And oxygen is a great healer in the body. And the more we can oxygenate our system, that makes a huge difference as well.
Absolutely. This just popped into my head. I don't know what it is about you, Susan, but you explain things very clearly. And every time I've spoken with you, this is only the third time I've actually spoken with you, things become more clear. And as you were talking about this, I was thinking about a person that I didn't need to forgive, but I wanted to forgive because I didn't want that heavy energy with me. Oh gosh, this was probably 20 years ago, maybe. Mm-hmm. And it just now occurred to me, because I didn't know this work, and you could not have convinced me, sit down and breathe into this, and it's going to be okay. But somewhere, one day I just woke up and it was just like, I just forgave him. I just forgave this person. And it was kind of a thing that would be what I would have considered unforgivable. And I thought, you know what? I was actually doing this breath work, but I was doing it not the most healthy way, because at that time I smoked. So what happens when we're smoking and we're upset? You take an inhale so deep because it's just, and you're, yes, even though it's not good, pure oxygen, you're pulling that oxygen down. And it just occurred to me, my gosh, I wonder if I no longer smoke, but I wonder if I was doing healing when I was doing the breath work and not even knowing it, because I was taking these super deep breaths because you're just in such a state and you want to get out of that state. It doesn't feel good here. So I ended up breathing, but not even knowing that I was breathing. So to the listeners, if you do smoke, put the cigarette to the side, do the breathing, you'll get better effects quicker, and then finish smoking. Yes. Wow.
Well, and the power of what you just shared is huge, because how many people who are smokers or feeling stressed or whatever. I used to smoke years ago myself, and I haven't for many, many years, but how many people under stress that do smoke regularly have a situation that brings the stress and they go, oh, I just need a cigarette. Yeah. Maybe the body is speaking to them and saying, well, I'd rather have pure air, but it doesn't matter. Just take a deep breath. And if it has to be with a cigarette, and I know that nicotine has addictive qualities, but is it that, or is it the body saying, do what you need to do, but you need to take a deep breath right now?
Yeah.
You know? And because the body knows, and when the body is reacting, even for instance, when you're really in stress, sometimes when we're taken to our knees, we can just sit down and fold over on ourselves and feel it. We may think it feels awful, but the body knows that that's a physical position that's going to help our physiology. It helps us transmute the energy flow when the body's folded over on itself, which is why yoga is a very helpful thing to add to your practice. Even if you are not that flexible, sit in a chair and do some exercises, just do some breath work. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be doing all the asanas that the yogis do, because it's just about conscious breathing. So thank you for sharing that about the cigarette smoking, because that could very well be what your body is telling you. When we start listening to our body, things start becoming clear.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, I was so surprised that forgiveness came out of nowhere. And like I said, this was 20 years ago, that it came out of nowhere. And I questioned, like, why and how, and did I have a dream? It was like, boom, overnight, it was just done. And it wasn't until you were talking that it was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if that's what it is. So it's amazing. So I'm going to talk to all the people I know who smoke and have them do an experiment with their, right? Because it's the first thing we do when you smoke and you're upset. It's like, go get that cigarette. So interesting. So thank you, Susan, for bringing that up. I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, totally awesome.
And what I love about this understanding is knowing how much our body is speaking to us. The soul speaks to the body, and the body speaks to the mind, and the mind is busy making up stories instead of just going inside and breathing, And those unforgivable things that happen are there to help us wake up to another aspect of our magnificence. So however we get there doesn't matter. Let's just get there. And I too have experienced that too. You think, I can manage this situation. I can manage the fact of, this person who caused me a lot of pain.